Koto, no mai, haere mai, and welcome back to another episode of Showy Ovaries. And just like Chapel Roan, I am HOTTOGO. That's right, I'm hard to go because I, Penny Ashton, have just started to get some hot flushes. Not crazy change the sheets, night sweats, but more taking a lot longer to figure out what you're going to wear when you leave the house. Mild sort of heat. Yes, I am mildly on heat. More hot blushes than hot flushes, and now it's cooler. They've come down a bit, but I'm totally into it. First thing to mention is come and see the Tempestuous in New Plymouth on May 16th and 17th. People are currently booking extraordinarily last minute, and it's terrifying. Just so you know that. So feel free to book those. So enough of me and my natural red hair. It's time to introduce my guest with her natural pink hair. To any New Zealander, she will need no introduction. She was New Zealander of the Year even, a doctor of microbiology. She was also a voice of calm science and encouragement during New Zealand's eradication response to the COVID pandemic, dedicating a huge amount of time in educating the public about infectious diseases and how to mitigate the spread. At the same time, she was subject to a torrent of misogynist on and offline abuse and doxing, including, unbelievably, from certain MPs and prominent media personalities, which disgusted me. I first met her at the Breakfast TV Christmas brunch, where I was placed next to her and immediate excitable chatter ensued. I think she's a goddamn national hero who, like Jacinda, still suffers abuse from, excuse me, absolute fuckwits. But she has delightfully cycled all the way to my West Auckland whare to chat about herself and her body. So please give an excitable, chattering welcome to the one and only Dr. Siouxie Wiles. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. Thank you for making it.
I'm so glad that this is a podcast and not video, because then everyone would see my very sweaty body from cycling and glowing.
I appreciate you making that effort, because you had some painters and decorators in, as
Indeed,
it were.
yes.
Right, okay.
Not periods.
Yeah. Which would be
literal
fun.
Painters.
Yeah, literal painters and decorators. So thank you for making that effort. And how's it going?
Good. Yeah. The painting or life in general? Painting's going well.
Painting's going well. Good. And then life in general.
Oh, like it has its up and downs, I think. Yeah, today's a good day.
Okay, good.
It's done on a kind of day-by-day basis.
Done on a day-by-day basis, right. Okay, absolutely. Well, hell, let's just get straight into my long introduction for you. Here we go. So, Dr. Siouxie Wiles was born in 1975, so just had her 50th birthday. She was originally born in Yorkshire, but then moved to South Africa, but then back to the UK, where an inspiring science teacher sent her down that career path. At 19, she was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, so some could say quite showy ovaries, but not in a great way necessarily, and it has had long-lasting repercussions for her health and family. She went on to graduate from the University of Edinburgh in 1997 with a BSc in medical microbiology. She then gained her PhD, focusing on bioluminescence, which explains why she's so shiny all of the time. She met her New Zealand husband, Stephen, when they both lectured at Imperial College London.
Oh, no, that's wrong.
Oh, it's wrong.
Yeah.
What is it? I think that's what it said in Wikipedia.
Okay, Wikipedia's wrong.
Yeah.
I met him. He had just finished his PhD, and I was just starting my PhD, and we met in a nightclub in London.
A nightclub?
A nightclub in London through friends in Oxford.
What was his pickup line?
Would you like a glass of champagne?
Oh, classy.
It was a nightclub where you brought your own, and he just graduated with his PhD, so he had a bottle of champagne.
They have BYO nightclubs?
Yeah.
Do they still have those?
That was the pickup line I remember. But actually, he had spoken to me earlier, asking if I needed someone to sign me into the club. Oh, but I didn't.
Right? Can I sign you in? That's like a no euphemism and have some shame. Thank you, Wikipedia. You are wrong. But then you did move back here to New Zealand in 2009 with your daughter Eve.
Yes.
And now you are a New Zealand citizen, and you have made an enormous impact here and globally in your mission to simplify science. I'm going back to the third person now. Well before COVID, she won the Prime Minister's Prize for Science Communication in 2013, was a regular guest on TV NZ and Radio New Zealand, fronted a children's television show, founded a company to sell bioluminescent kits to create artworks, has featured in films about NASA's use of fireflies in the search of extraterrestrial life, was a finalist for New Zealand of the Year in 2018 for her incredibly important work on antibiotic-resistant superbugs, and then won the award in 2021 for her COVID communication work. During COVID, she went internationally viral, in a good way, for her collaborations with Toby Morris of the spin-off on Flattening the Curve, etc., and went on to being named in the BBC's Top 100 Women of the Year for 2020. This is where she also realised that many people are threatened by a pink-haired, outspoken, brave woman of intellect and staunch opinions, and has been bearing the brunt of abuse ever since. But we are here today to celebrate the head of the bioluminescent superbugs lab at the University of Auckland, where she is making bacteria glow in the dark. So please, again, go crazy as well for the incredibly impressive superstar of science that is Siouxie Wiles. Yay. That's all right. How do you feel hearing all that?
Yeah, it's funny because turning 50 has been a real sort of time to reflect, and I was quite depressed about it over the last couple of years because I don't feel like I'm where I wanted to be sort of career-wise. And I've spent some time in therapy, not necessarily for that, but related to actually just how to deal with the abuse and how to deal with the stuff that happened with my employer. And we talked a lot about that kind of, why is this so important to me, this kind of validation of so the thing is that I wanted to be a professor by the time I was 50, and I'm not a professor, and that was really upsetting because I meet the standards, but anyway, for whatever reasons I'm not a professor. And yeah, I spent a lot of time talking with my therapist about how, like, why is that so important to have that validation when I've had all of this other external validation. And so yeah, it's a funny thing, isn't it? I guess we're socialized to think in certain ways and to think of certain things as being achievements and not others. And so
were you a perfectionist at school?
I don't know how to answer that.
Interesting.
I probably am a perfectionist, but I think as you get busier, you sort of become, your standards drop, I would say. Like, okay, you can't be a perfectionist and everything. So, and it's funny, I never really thought of myself as ambitious either. I guess because all of these are things that have a negative connotation to them, and they shouldn't.
Unless
right?
you're a man.
Yes, well, yes, and that's this.
Yes.
If you're a woman, everything has a negative connotation. And so I guess I took all of these things as, like, you shouldn't be ambitious, you shouldn't be this, you shouldn't be that.
And, well, because, from the outside looking in, I would say that you've achieved a kind of fuck of a lot by your 50th birthday, not least of which winning New Zealander of the Year when you weren't even born in New Zealand, and also being nominated for it as well. Like, you've been, twice you had that accolade. You've done so many amazing things. So to me, but this is what it's like. It doesn't matter what other people tell you.
Yeah.
It's what's inside. Like, because I was a perfectionist at school and wildly competitive. So I'm that annoying person that used to say, what did you get on tests? And then get bewildered that people were like, what do you want to know for? I'm like, well, so I know that I beat you. But that's obnoxious. And I'm not saying you're being obnoxious, but just that I'm always like, why have they got that? Why have they? And it's I probably should get therapy actually about that. My jealousy is quite strong. And, because in my life, and actually it comes to me that in science, it's a bit like this. So I'm quite surprised, and I don't feel that it should be. It's so much about hustle.
Yeah.
Like, you are hustling to get yourself funded. Like, you're actually doing crowdfunding. Did I read that, to get yourself funded? I mean, like, that seems so crazy to me that scientists, and it's the same with women's health and science, constantly hustling to get funded for studies and things like that. So you are basically just been hustling your whole life. So you have to be ambitious, because if you weren't, you might not be head of the bioluminescent superbugs, etc., etc.
Well, yes. I mean, that sounds more grand than it is. It just means that I basically have my own lab. But you're right. I mean, that is an achievement nowadays, because the graphs showing like what happens to women in science, we have really good, like, more women than men probably succeed at undergraduate level, probably similar for PhD level, and then sort of getting your first in the research sector, that would be like your first research assistant or postdoctoral kind of thing. That's when it all starts to sort of fall apart.
Right.
So by the time you get to professor, even in women-dominated subjects like biology, the women have disappeared, and that's because the workplaces are toxic, and all the sexism exists around. You can take two people with equal achievements, and the men will be considered to have achieved more than the women. And I have faced this in my career. It's well documented and published as a thing. And so to get to that stage, even though I'm not professor, I'm still actually in the minority of women who make it to that stage. So it is something to be, I guess, proud. I don't know, is proud the right word?
I think so.
I mean, I'm just so furious that we don't have the same opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's even worse for people of colour,
Yeah.
you know, for Māori and Pacifica scholars. So, like, I guess my overriding thing is kind of indignant fury. Like, that's the thing that drives me.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say it's ambition, really. I would say it's fury that the system is so unfair.
I wonder how
Like,
much...
that is the thing that really, and this is why I'm cross about not being professor, because it's unfair because I meet the criteria.
Yes.
But for various reasons, which we can potentially go into later,
Okay.
it didn't happen. And so it's the unfairness, and it's not just about the unfairness to me. It's like, if it's unfair for me, it'll be unfair for others, and that's what needs to be fixed. And that's one of the things that really drives me. It's what drove me to spend an extraordinary amount of money taking my university to court.
Yes.
Like, it's the thing that just because something's affecting me, like, I won't be the only one, and it should be fixed. And so that kind of indignant fury is kind of what drives me on. And I feel like I think this is a trait that happens to women. You just get more and more furious as you get older, right?
Yeah, you kind of do.
And you also have less fucks to give. And
Exactly.
so you just reach the stage where you're like, right, bring it on.
Yeah. And, you know, if people don't know, you did sue the University of Auckland for not providing enough pastoral care, essentially, when you were going through this horrible abuse by actually trying to inseminate? Trying to disseminate information that was very important about keeping people alive.
Yeah, so basically the university back in 2018 actually 2017, there was a whole bunch of women in the university who got some horrendous harassment, death threats and
What about?
rape threats and stuff. Oh, they were women mostly working in kind of areas around gender and sexuality, but there were others who weren't, who got some horrendous abuse. And it started this process of the university realizing that they didn't actually have any kind of policies to support staff who were being harassed by external people. There's like lots of, you know, are you being bullied by somebody at the university? Like, there's policies that deal with that, although we could argue about how well those policies work. But anyway, they didn't have anything for external people. And so through that, this group called the Gender-Based Harassment Working Group was brought together. And so in 2018, they basically announced a great fanfare that there was a new policy. And that was the place. It was like a one-stop shop that had somebody from security, some from IT, somebody from HR. So if you were being harassed, that was the place to go, and they would help you deal with it. And so when I started being harassed in January 2020, which was about a few days after starting to talk about COVID in the media.
Wow, straight away.
Pretty much straight away. By April, there'd been quite a few things that were concerning. And so myself and a few colleagues got in touch with Shrit to say, hey, can we have your support? And that was when we realized this was really the first time it had ever been tested, and it failed miserably and continued to fail miserably. And just I guess there was a few personalities, a few people involved who just had this massive blind spot around how online harassment, that it just didn't mean anything.
Oh, you should just get over it.
Yeah, I guess they didn't think it was something that should affect me. They just thought I should just stop communicating and then it would go away. And they didn't think it would turn into anything real in the real world. It was just an online thing. Yeah, so that's what prompted myself and a couple of other colleagues to just start, this is ridiculous. This policy was put in place for a reason and it should work. And so you should fix it, because us trying to interact with the policy are showing you it is not fit for purpose.
And I mean, like, the thing to me is, like, who is supposed to talk about these things if it's not the very people that have studied it their whole life and they are the experts in the field? Like, what are they? Yeah, who did they want to get up on television? Like, did they want?
Well, there's been a little bit of an issue for me at the university with certain people over the years, because I don't know. I mean, some people have this idea that you should be an old professor, you know, before you have the right, like...
Oh, right. See, I don't even know about this hierarchy professor thing.
there is such a hierarchy thing, and it's sort of like a rite of passage, and I guess the whole, are you senior enough? I mean, it was just... Anyway, it was ridiculous, and science communication is a skill that you also have to learn, and I spent a lot of time learning those skills.
And won an award about it in
Lots of
2013.
awards, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. So, anyway, so there was just this kind of overarching, you shouldn't be doing it, and it's not that bad anyway. And I just kind of, myself and some colleagues just saw red. And what I will never understand to this day is why the university chose to fight me instead of just fix their policies. Because again, this wasn't just about me. It was like, you've got a policy, and, you know, as we've seen over the last few years, like, it's not just those of us at the university who are engaging in COVID, of which there were a lot of people, you know, who were getting harassed. It's anybody to do with gender, anyone working in the Mātauranga Māori space. Like, there's just so much that it was just like, can you please fix this policy?
Yeah.
And instead they spent over $1 million, you know, fighting me.
That is very strange.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
And I think there's also...
And they lost.
They did. I did not win every point, but I won the majority of them. So, and pretty much everybody agrees that I won, but the university doesn't. And so,
Colour me shocked.
I know. And to this day, I've never had an apology from any of the people involved.
Right,
so
no.
They've all kept their jobs. And, you know, so many people ask me, like, why are you still there? And the real answer is, why should I leave? I didn't do anything wrong. I was just trying to get them to have policies that actually worked. Like, why should I have to find another job? And the stuff I do is so specialised, I'd have to leave New Zealand. Why should I have to leave New Zealand when the people who made my life hell for years... Because, you know, the court process is a very slow process.
Yeah, absolutely.
They get to keep their well-paid jobs. So, again, it's that kind of indignant anger that's kind of kept me going.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, we've gone a bit off topic. But,
no, but it's not off topic because that's about your brain, which is part of your body. And, you know, I'm just putting it's about actually your physical being in danger.
But also, you know, the physical effects of the court case were amazing.
Okay.
Like I guess, and this is the physical effects of stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're shouldering a lot.
Yeah.
You're shouldering a lot and you probably don't think that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I know when things are getting bad, when my eyes start twitching, I get hives. So I take antihistamines from hives. I've had a couple of like tight-chested things, which I think were panic attacks. So I have actually had some panic and some that I know are definitely panic attacks. Right. So it does impact you physically.
When I was directing last year a show in Wellington, it was very stressful and I got a rash on my face and lost heaps of weight. I'm like, oh, so this is you know, like constantly worrying about that fucking, but I was like, I didn't give a shit. And that's never happened, that I've lost weight and just gone, whatever, I don't care. My friend came down, was like, oh my God, just a bit skinnier. I'm like, am I? I don't even know. It was very stressful. But nothing like what you were going through at all. Right, okay, well, yes, I've got questions. There's so many questions. And I forgot to talk about your movie, of course, Misinformation. So.
Yeah, well, I guess if you want to see what my life has been like and to kind of experience some of the harassment, because it features a lot in that movie. So yeah, Gwen Isaac. It was never my intention to be the subject of a movie. So Gwen was doing in 2020, she was doing one of the Loading Docks documentaries. So this is a great little series. And so in 2020, she was due to go to Japan. And there were no planes.
Yes, indeed. Right.
And so the Loading Docks team said to her, find yourself another subject. And she flicked me an email. This must have been about February. I did not want to do it at all. But a really good friend of mine is an historian. And she had been saying, you need to document this because this is going to be important for future historians. And so I said to Gwen, sure, okay, fine, because it's a good way to document it. And she came and spent a few days like hanging out with us, and she just filmed, like she was just basically a fly on the wall, and made this 8-minute documentary called Siouxsie and the Virus. And it's hilarious because it's just 8 minutes of my phone ringing basically, and it really captures the craziness of, you know, like I was just on, like media were just relentless. I was doing 30 or 40 interviews a day. It was just nuts, absolutely nuts. So it's just like juggling phones and everything. Anyway, and she was there and captured me watching Jacinda's announcement that we were going into lockdown. And so I then promptly packed her off home. But after that documentary, she asked if she could keep filming. And so we would meet up every now and again and film. And then it was really just like this, you know, I had no control over the story she decided to tell. And because of the time it took to get funding again for the movie, she ended up telling a story about the harassment. And it's just, it's it's a hard watch, and I hadn't really appreciated how hard a watch until the opening night when loads of my friends were there, and they were like, loads of them were quite like, you know, they knew that I was being harassed. They'd seen the impact on me, but somehow hearing those messages, seeing those messages, like there's my voicemails, you just go, oh my God.
Yeah. And, you know, from prominent people in New Zealand as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's from everybody. This is one of the things that's really amazing about harassment is that, like, our acceptance of it has shifted. And so, you know, I get emails, voicemails from people who use their real names. You know, they'll use their work email addresses. Like, they're not hiding. And it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, how can you think this is acceptable?
Yeah.
So it's really shifted. And, you know, we see this with prominent women in positions of power, you know, or perceived positions of power or influence. You know, they're just piled on it, and it's really toxic.
I know, it's like Kate Hawkesby, people calling people so-called experts. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, Kate. What are you freaking buying horrible jeans? Anyway, yes, I got very agree for you. But I'm going to ask some of my questions that I have, and I'm sure all of that will continue to cycle back through. But what did you want to be when you grew up, when you were little?
I wanted to be a fighter pilot in the Air Force.
Okay.
I loved the idea, or a helicopter pilot.
Right.
So fighter plane, possibly influenced by Top Gun.
Probably.
Because I remember seeing Top Gun at a friend's birthday party in the cinema, and I was just like, oh my God, I want to be one of those. And then I found out there was like a minimum height. But also, as my family pointed out, that would involve joining the military.
Yes.
And I've never been really good with like rules.
Conformity.
Maybe conformity is the right word. Yeah. Like, I'm really good with rules, like important safety rules. So, you know, I don't breach rules in the lab or any of those kind of things. Yeah. But I'm not good with authority.
Yeah.
And
being told what to do.
Yeah. And so it was like, yeah, okay, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then this very influential teacher, Mrs. Roberts, my biology teacher, just really loved biology. My parents had not gone to university, so they had been really keen that I study, and I was a very studious kid, and so that just seemed like, cool, I don't have to get a job yet, I'll go to university. So I didn't really, at that stage, even have any aspirations. Like, once I knew I wasn't going to be a helicopter pilot or a fighter pilot, I just wanted to go to study, and they had really just drummed into me, just do what you're interested in. Yeah.
Right, okay, cool.
Dude.
I know, like when you're 6, you're like, I want to be blah, blah, blah. No, I want to, but then a fighter pilot's like killing people, so that's interesting. And now you're saving people instead.
Yeah.
Anyway, now, so what has your relationship with your body been like through your journey, and how have you come to accept it or not accept it and all that? My big, massive question.
Yeah, it's a big question.
It's a big question.
I think like most people, it's been complicated.
Yeah.
So I was really skinny as a teenager.
Right.
Probably underweight as a teenager. Absolutely loved it. I was going out clubbing, wearing latex PVC dresses and all of this kind of stuff, amazing kind of gothy outfits and things. And then in my late teens, kind of early 20s was when I started to put on weight. And that was when I was diagnosed with the polycystic ovaries. And they basically said, from now on, you will struggle with your weight and you will probably struggle to have children. And that was all they said. There was like, no, we can do anything about this. It was basically, we don't really know anything about it. Don't know.
Yeah.
Just off you go. Come back and see us if you want to have kids.
And what is happening with your ovaries that causes that?
To be honest, I haven't actually. So I believe that every month they turn into cysts rather than doing what they're supposed to do.
The ovaries or the cysts within them?
The eggs, instead of like the follicles, as they develop, they turn into cysts rather than actually properly developing and stuff.
And do they get passed out like it does?
They end up really big and sometimes exploding, and they're horrible.
Holy shit!
And
you had lots of operations?
No, just lots of pain. From these things.
Yeah, and what does it do to you? It sort of does something to your metabolism.
To be honest, I know nothing about it.
Interesting.
It's nothing. It was at the time I was busy studying microbes. Didn't really look into it. I mean, just yeah. And then I think there's much more known about it now, but I've not really ever looked into it.
Wow.
All I know is that it's one of these things where they go, oh, well, have you got polycystic ovaries because you're fat? Or are you fat because you've got polycystic ovaries? It's one of, or certainly at the time, that was one of the sort of things.
You were like, no, because I wasn't fat.
Yeah, I think we know that bodies are complicated. But I must say, I do come from a line of women who struggle with their weight. Okay. So I think there's a genetic component to this as too. The science of it is complicated, right? There's like epigenetics, there's all of the thing around when you starve yourself, body, or when you are starved, you know, bodies kind of adapt and go, well, I'm going to take every nutrient I can from anything, right? And so given that I come from a working class background, it won't be very many generations back when people were in the workhouse and, you know, were starving and stuff. So all I know is that on one side of my family, the women are either extremely big or have an eating disorder of some sort. There's very few that are in the middle, and those that are in the middle do struggle.
Right.
And then on the other side of my family, it's mostly skinny people. So it's interesting. And I guess...
And you haven't really wanted to investigate which way?
Well, I know for me, I'm definitely on the bigger, I'm on the fat side.
No, I mean of the polycystic.
Oh, what it was?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess because it was just... The way it was diagnosed was just so like, we don't know anything about this and this is just your life now. Like, there's no treatment, just get on with it. I just didn't question it and I just got on with my life.
Is there treatment?
I think we know more about it now, but I'm not sure whether there are actually treatments for it now.
So they were like with the epilepsy, they were like, we don't know why you've got it. We don't know how it happened. We don't know if it'll happen again. See you later. You know, and you're like, okay, 16, going, okay, right, great, yeah.
But epilepsy is something that affects men and women, right? And I think one of the issues is that with things that affect women, there's very little research.
However, it affects women differently because of hormonal... Because of and things like I couldn't take the pill very easily. I had to have a higher dosage of pill. But there's this whole thing around the fact that particularly epilim causes birth defects.
Right.
And thousands of women haven't been told that. Wow. Thousands. And there's been thousands and thousands of children born globally affected by it that didn't have to be because their doctors didn't tell them properly about the effects of epilepsy on women.
And probably didn't know.
Yes, because of the lack of...
Never learned.
Yes, but also, the lack of teaching. But except it's been known since the 70s. Anyway, so that happened.
So.
And you always knew that you wanted kids?
No.
Okay.
No, actually, I was like, okay, that's probably never going to happen, so not fast at all. And it was actually Stephen who started getting... he wanted kids.
Broody.
Yeah, he got broody. And so I really foolishly went, whatever, thinking, that's not going to happen, it's fine. I'm all good. Because I was quite focused on my career. And so we tried for a couple of years and then we started on the process of finding out what could be done. And it was really funny. I had to have a scan and as part of the polycystic ovaries, I never had periods. So I was on the pill to induce a period, but I didn't have them without the pill. And so when we were trying to have a baby and I'd come off the pill, I was not having a period. And so they gave me something, progesterone or something maybe, to say, right, this is going to kickstart a cycle so we can basically then do this scan and see where you are. And I got pregnant.
Right.
And it was like, oh my God.
That must have been a moment.
You
thought that was never going to happen and suddenly you're pregnant.
I had a miscarriage. So it was oh God, okay, it's going to be like that. But somehow that miscarriage kicked it all off. And then 3 months later, I was pregnant with Eve. And ever since Eve was born, I've had a period. Well, until we get to this lovely stage of our life where they start going a bit haywire.
They go haywire, yes, indeed.
So that was really interesting, is basically not having a cycle. And all the stuff that comes with cycles that I can talk about on this podcast. Yeah. Like the changes in your smell and the changes in your secretions and all that stuff. Never experienced that until my 30s.
Wow. And that's so crazy that having a baby reset you.
It did something.
Yeah.
Didn't help with the weight, obviously. I mean, I found being a new mum really hard. I mean, the whole birth I ended up having an emergency C-section and it was all very traumatic. And I found those first months very difficult. And that's why we only have one child, because I'm like, I'm never doing that again.
Right, okay.
But and then was quite depressed, I guess, after the baby, which was fairly common.
And you had depression in your life?
It wasn't, that was probably the second time that I'd had a sort of depressive episode.
I've never wanted children. So I can imagine if you're not bonding immediately or having that, like, I'm loving all of this, you must sit there and think, this is a long time. You know, like, this is a long time. Like, you know.
I bonded with her, but I really struggled with the feeding. Like, I found breastfeeding the most painful thing in the world.
It is when you've got bigger knockers, isn't it? That because my sister was the same.
It was just, and we had this wonderful lactation consultant who came and she's like, it looks perfect, it should be fine. I was like, it's not fine, it's like somebody's sawing off my nipples. But again, being really kind of belligerent, I was just like, no, you're supposed to breastfeed. And so I ended up just kind of pushing through it and ended up, Eve weaned herself at like, I don't know, 8 months, a year or something like that.
My sister did it for like, I think she tried to do it for 6 months, but I can't remember. The second child was like only 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because it was just
I will
too
never,
difficult.
ever judge a woman for the decisions they make, because honestly, that was like one of the hardest things I have ever done. And I was just so like, I'm just going to keep going. But I can absolutely see why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
And no judgments.
But that's it. But there is so much judgment too.
There is.
Yeah. Around that sort of thing. Right. Okay.
And so I sort of put on weight after the baby was born.
Right.
Yeah, and then it sort of just, I lost weight during the beginning of the pandemic, which I think was just the
Stress.
sheer stress.
And you didn't get time to eat if you're doing 30 or 40
Yeah, I mean, Stephen
interviews.
was trying to bring me stuff, and I wasn't sleeping very much, so I lost about 5 kilos or something. But then as soon as that sort of acute phase, then it just came straight back on. And then for me, my perimenopause thing, the reason I went to my doctor, I had essentially 4 symptoms. One was the erratic period. So my periods were like really long.
I had one like...
But not heavy. So it just felt like, fuck, I'm bleeding all the time, even though it's like not very much anyway. So it was clearly, okay, they're going a bit haywire.
People that have listened to this a long time, and this hasn't happened for a while, I used to call my period Mike Hosking because it just went on and on and on and on and on in an unwelcome fashion.
Yeah.
But that's actually gone away now. Yeah, and mine got really heavy for a while.
No, mine didn't do that.
Yeah, I never did that. Yeah, I called them lady explosions. It just go everywhere. So I was just going to change my... Matt was very good, very used to it, husband. So get the little nappy sand soaking in the laundry, etc. But right, okay, cool. So that happened.
Yeah, so there was that one. But the weight was the big one. So I put on, I don't know, like 6 kilos or something in just a couple of months with like no change in diet, no change in exercise, like nothing. It was just like, whoa, what the hell is going on? And that's just gone like nowhere. So there was that. What was the other one? I mean, the big one for me was the depressive episode. So I just had this major... just felt like the world was ending. And it was almost like hyper, I guess. So there was like really low lows and then really, really high highs. And that's not like me. I'm usually much more steady. And so I went to see the GP, and it was, this was about the time that we were gearing up to go to employment court. And so I was seeing a therapist, and she was like, well, it could be depression because of everything that's going on. But she's like, but it could also be perimenopause. So how about we try that first?
Some HRT?
And I saw a gynecologist, and she put me on HRT, and it was really quickly, the weight gain stopped, the mood stabilized.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, I feel like myself again.
Fantastic. I know, I'm jealous, even though, as I say, I don't know if I have that many symptoms currently. I've only really just got the hot flushes, and I haven't had many periods this year, so it could be that's it. I tried to take HRT because I've got various aches and pains, and things suddenly started happening in my feet, like internal bursts in my feet, all this sort of shit. So I thought I'd give it a go, but happily I haven't had, because depression must be... I've never had depression. I have no frame of reference around that, and I know there's quite a few people that get it out of nowhere during menopause.
Yeah,
I know you've had it before.
Just a blackness that kind of takes over everything.
Yeah, and you had a lot to deal with as well.
Yeah, and that was it. It was like, is it just because of all the stuff that's going on, or is it more than that? And I remember a friend of mine 5 years ago, so just before the pandemic, I went to see her in the UK, and she basically talked to me about this being one of the major signs of perimenopause that's often missed, and most women are just popped on antidepressants and they should be on HRT. And I remember her saying that and thinking, oh, I wonder if it's that. And that was kind of what prompted me to go to the doctor and say, look,
Right.
I wonder if it's this rather than
like, and also other things to get out there. Like, I have a very close family friend that had to go into hospital because she was on her way to sepsis from a UTI.
Right.
And she didn't know that Ovestin cream is very good, which is topical estrogen, at preventing UTIs. She had no idea about that. So I told her all about that, and then she went off to her doctor and she's got some. She's 79 and she's never had UTIs ever. And then suddenly is doing that. So just that information sharing between women.
Well, there's a urologist from the US that I used to follow on social media. Evangelical, every woman over 50 should be taking
topical estrogen. Right.
And it will just sort you out. Like, why would you even wait for the symptoms to start? It's like such low dose, just do it.
But you just have to lie down every night and squirt something out your fanny. I mean, like, if I don't have to do that, I'm all right with not doing that.
Okay, well...
Yeah, I don't know.
But you're protecting the tissues, right? I mean,
yes.
You're stopping that damage from happening.
Well, this is it. And, UTIs...
wasting from happening.
The atrophy, like slowly dying from the inside. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I'm going to ask you a very personal question about polycystic.
As if all of this wasn't personal.
Talk about that. No, yeah, exactly. We haven't been personal yet. Do you get hair growth on your face with polycystic ovarian?
Yeah, it's not. But that really only started when I hit about 40 something.
Right. So because I thought that's something that happened all the way through.
Yeah. So, but I guess not for everybody. So I was never like really, really hairy. That really only hit for me when I was in my 40s. And so
how do you deal with that? What's your
laser.
process? Laser. Right, okay. I've got one. Just one. So it's annoying, but it's just one. And so I just wait. The first time you find it, did you have that? You're like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, it's just giant. Yeah. Right.
No, the laser's been fantastic.
It's been good.
It used to be really expensive and it's now pretty cheap.
Okay.
So that's good.
Good.
Yeah.
So do you think how are you with accepting your size? But that's the thing is, I feel like we get to a point where we're accepting and then menopause fucks it up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to be smaller, but weight loss is not an easy thing.
No, it's really not. Especially if you're already eating healthily and cycling and
I mean, this is the thing about being fat is people make so many assumptions about you.
Yep.
I remember when I had my run-in with Judith Collins. And there was
what did she do?
It was a horrible thing that happened, a bit of disinformation that was spread about me where during one of our lockdowns I had a bubble with a friend of mine and you were
at the beach.
We cycled to the beach and there was this whole how did she get to the beach? Did she run? And it was just like, no, I cycled because I cycle everywhere. And it was this really, I remember replying to her on social media like, have you not heard of bicycles, Judith? But yeah, I mean, I cycle and this is my main form of exercise. I try and cycle most days. One of the reasons I was so keen to come here today was that I didn't cycle yesterday. So this is like my penance.
Yes, this is 2 hours of cycling for yourself.
A very long cycle today.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's freedom. I mean, the cycling infrastructure in New Zealand is just or in Auckland has just got so much better over the last few years.
It really has gotten so much better.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I would like to be smaller, but life's too short to make yourself really miserable. And it's, I mean, it's hard. It does affect me and it does affect
And what about
things.
With Eve?
Well, that's also something I've tried to be tried not to let it worry me, but equally I wonder whether it worries her that she might end up really fat.
Oh, yeah, right. But you're not really, really fat. It's terrible to just go, well, you're not really fat because you're not really fat. But, but again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I wonder whether she has this little niggle in her mind that she might.
Right.
She takes much more after her dad's side of the family and they're all skinny, so.
Right, okay.
Which upsets her as well because she'd love my boobs. Not mine boobs, but she'd love bigger boobs.
Everybody wants what they don't have, I find. My sister is about to go to Turkey and get a breast reduction.
Wow.
Which I'm like, that's a choice. Apparently they've got very good reviews on TripAdvisor, basically, this place. You're like, what? Whatever the medical TripAdvisor is. But she does a lot of research. But she's hated having big knockers.
Yeah, my mum had a breast reduction as well.
Right.
Probably when she was in her 30s, maybe.
Did it make her much happier?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then another good friend of mine's just had a boob job.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit evangelical about bras. You need a good bra.
You so do. Where do you get yours from?
So I get mine from Rigby and Pella, which is it's in London.
Is it to the Queen or something?
The Queen's,
I was about to say
yeah.
it. I was like, it's the brassiere for the Queen.
They are amazing, and they have amazing. I don't know what I'm going to do now. I don't really have a reason to go back to the UK. Where the hell am I going to get my bras?
Surely
from?
they do them online.
Well, yeah, but you kind of need to go and then you do the thing, because I have tried to get bras here.
Do you know about avocado?
Oh, I don't.
Avocado's in Newmarket.
Okay.
Spelt not like avocado. I can't remember what they changed, but it's not spelt. It is avocado. And they have Freya and they have Fantasy. I buy them online a lot of the time.
Right.
I buy them from Bravissimo, which is very big in the UK.
Yes.
And also Fig Leaves and Bras and Honey. My favourite are Elomi bras. And I'm going to flash my tits at you now. This is good for radio. And they're just really pretty.
Oh, they are beautiful.
Yeah, they're really pretty.
That's a good bra.
Yeah, and it's like, and
Yeah,
it's comfortable.
Yeah,
and it's
I mean, it's got to have all the So I've
got to have some scaffolding.
I'm a big believer in proper scaffolding.
Yeah, and then it gives you a
that
waist.
often that also helps with the neck pain and stuff like that. If you've got a good bra, it tends to not have
Before I got fitted properly, I thought it was a 14E, and I'm a 10 double G.
Yeah,
these ones are kind of pricey. These are about £50. No, not £50.
Oh well,
they're like I'm sure Rigby and Pella. How much is a bra from Rigby and Pella? Are you going to divulge?
I don't.
You don't know. Look, money is immaterial when it comes to your knockers being in the right place.
Yes, basically.
I endorse this. Absolutely. So now I've got what is your favourite part of your body? Is it your knockers?
I like my cleavage.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's specific. Just the bit where the knockers meet.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when you've got substantial knockers and a good bra.
Yeah. For favum.
Then cleavage is excellent.
Well, you've seen many corsets that I wear on stage.
And I'm a big fan of of all of those.
Yeah.
It's a long time since I've worn a corset. I do have several of them.
I can see that. It's a bit gothy.
Yeah. So, but do you know, actually, one of my favourite parts are my dimples.
Oh, right. Yes.
I have dimples, and my mum and dad have dimples, and my brother has dimples, and so they just they're I don't know. They remind me when I smile. They remind me of kind of family and stuff because they're a bit of a family trait.
It's that's very cute. You have a smile enhancing hereditary trait.
Yeah,
because they do. There's something about dimples that are just they're cute.
Yeah, they remind me of my dad because my dad's got quite cheeky grin, and my brother too. Yeah, so
right. And I would hesitate that maybe your brain is quite good.
Yeah, I guess
so. You guess so. Yes, it is.
Well, I don't know.
Wow, what don't you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I remember once I was saying I may have said this already on the podcast, I was talking to my husband because my brain doesn't stop. It's annoying. Sleeping can be an issue and stuff. Anyway, it just doesn't stop. And I couldn't sleep and I went, I've got my brain's stupid. And my husband just looked at me and went, your brain is amazing. And it was like, and it was because it was the nicest thing he's ever said to me. He's very sweet, tells me I'm beautiful all the time. But I was like, that was amazing how much that hit as being the thing that I wanted. And you also have an amazing brain, young lady.
The thing I struggle with is the leaps that my brain makes. So I can be in one place and we're all talking about something, and then my brain has gone has made several leaps and is somewhere else, and I'm like, can you not see those steps to how we got there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I find myself sometimes having to, all right, let me walk you through this, because I've obviously just ran away and I've kind of left people a bit confused as to how I've got over there. So I guess I don't really think about my brain much, which is really interesting. And I think much more. The other bit of me I really like is my hair.
Right. And you yes, and I like my red hair.
I have lots of it.
Yeah.
And what I wish is that it was curly, and it's not naturally. It's got a bit of a kink to it, but I get the curls by sleeping with it in braids.
Oh,
so
I see.
I fake my curls.
Right. Okay.
And the reason I curl it is also so that I don't touch it or brush it much.
Okay.
And that helps to preserve the colour because I don't have to wash it quite so often.
Yeah. And so how long you've had pink hair since you were really young?
When I was a teenager, I experimented with purples and plums.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I will never forget the day that I first dyed my hair. So I must have been about 16, and I was at my friend Jed's house, and he was like, I don't know whether he suggested it or whether we'd planned it, but anyway, we dyed my hair. we forgot to wear gloves. It was purple.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had purple hands and I had purple hair. And my dad came to pick me up. And I will never forget just watching his hands go really, really white as he gripped the steering wheel. It didn't say a word.
Oh.
It's just like, and then my mum was like, can I help you with that?
With your hands?
No, with my hands, but with dyeing my hair. She was just like, we don't need to make a really big mess of this. Let me help with that.
Right, okay.
And so they were kind of supportive from the very beginning. Yeah, so I was purples for a while. And then basically when I was doing my PhD, so early 20s, I just thought I'd like reddy pink, kind of red. And then at some point I was like, I want more. So I had some streaks done and the streaks didn't last at all. And so I went back to the hairdresser and I was just like, bleach it, do the lot. And they were very reluctant. They were like, oh, but there's no going back. I was like, I don't care.
Yes, they can be. Like I was getting streaks bleached and this woman was like, no, not like one woman flatly wouldn't do it. I was like, wow, okay. So, right, and is that when you went pink?
Yeah, so and I've been the same colour ever since. It's been 25 years.
25 years. I know, and that was something else that people said too, wasn't it? That you should not do that to draw attention to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I've been drawing attention to myself for a very long time.
I know.
And the thing is, it's got nothing to do with anyone else. Like, it's not about attention, it's what I like.
Yeah.
And I realised very early on when I started doing kind of science communication stuff, this was in the UK, so probably around 2005 when I won my big prize. So it was all about ethical use of animals in research, and the organisation started asking me to do talks in schools. And I realised it had a real impact on the kids because they were like, what? You're a scientist? Like, that's not what scientists look like. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I remember reading papers and stuff that were all about what kids' impressions of scientists were and how, until about the age of 6, kids have no idea. They're just like, oh, isn't a scientist? Like, well, I don't know what a scientist looks like. And then they start to be influenced by all of the shit they see. And so now suddenly scientists are usually men in white coats and everything. So I kind of was like, oh, actually, all right, I'm going to keep this because this is quite cool and is really having an impact on the kids that I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I progressed in my career, I realized like it wasn't just kids that didn't realize that scientists could have pink hair. It was also like other scientists. And so, especially quite senior conservative ones. And so I started to kind of hit this barrier of like, oh, you're not a serious scientist. And then I was just like, well, fuck you, I'm going to keep my hair then.
Yeah.
And so it just became why should I get rid of it? And it's a real reminder of people's biases.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lady stopped me not that long ago. I was just walking down the street. She was walking down our street. I was just coming out from the garage with my bicycle. And she said, oh, you're that lady. Like, probably.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh yeah. How did she phrase it? She said, oh, somebody she knows just really struggled to take me seriously because of your hair. And then she was like, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And I was like, it's not like I haven't heard it before. It's fine. And it tells you more about them than it says anything about me.
And she's just musing that out loud to you. It's very strange.
Well, it's fine. But it was just like, that's telling you that person, everything that they think about a person is encompassed in what they look like. And that has implications not just for women with pink hair, but for women in general, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like possibly Maori and Pacifica. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like it's telling you something about that person and their perceptions of people's abilities. And so, yeah, I just was like, oh, fuck you all. I'm just going to keep it. And
the amount of times that people say things to me like, oh, I couldn't pull that off. Like, I've got a very bright jumper, very pink, bright jumper, and the woman in the shop went, oh, that not many people can pull that off, but you can. And I'm like, anybody can pull it off.
Yeah, you just put it on.
They just, yeah, exactly. And then you pull it off. Yeah, exactly. You just put it on, and and that's it. If you want it, and it's so true. It's not about drawing attention to yourself. It's because you like it.
Yeah.
But yet that is perceived as attention, particularly for women as well.
And I think that, the thing about me, both my colour of hair and the way I dress and my weight, I am comfortable in my body. Like, yes, there are things I would like to change, but I'm actually comfortable in the body that I have. Mm-hmm. And I think most people are not both comfortable in their body, but comfortable in themselves. Like, they hide who they are, I guess. And I don't hide who I am.
No.
Like, I am obsessed with bioluminescence, microbes, Lego. I'm not ashamed of any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's quite confronting to people, is that they've got bits about themselves that they're maybe ashamed of or would like not to be ashamed of, but don't feel like it's, like silly things like their interests and stuff. Like somehow you've got to be, you can't be a grown-up and be into Lego. It's like, why?
Yeah, and that's...
Like, grown-ups are into all sorts of things.
Did you go and see that Lego Masters... No, what was it called? Lego Lost Worlds? That was... Surprised if you didn't.
There was the Lego one at the museum, which was the little... yes,
Worlds.
of course.
Yes,
that was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yes.
I particularly enjoyed the television studio.
Yes.
Where they were making hilarious television shows. And I liked it. There was an action television show and the star was Queen McSteve.
Yes.
And that has stuck with me so much, Queen McSteve. And like, today we're discussing whether a tomato is a fruit. Don't be ridiculous. And just like these little, I just thought it was beautiful. Yeah, I had a really good, I went with my nephew and he was like popping out of his brain, having a good time. Do you have Lego all over your house?
Yes. I try not to have it all over the house, but it is...
I like those flowers.
I've got flower in my desk, flowers and an anglerfish. The anglerfish was a present for my 40th from my parents, my dad, basically.
Right.
And it was hilarious because my dad actually had the idea that he would find me a Lego anglerfish and then obviously went online and found a vintage... Like Lego had one of these kits years before and he ordered the kit and it got sent to me and apparently the rest of the family were like, this is ridiculous. It's her 40th birthday. Why are you buying? And he was just like,
she's going to love it.
And it was my favorite thing. 10 years later, it is sat on my desk. I see it every day and I love it. Anyway, yeah. And then I've got various Lego flowers and things all over the house. We've got the insects in various places. I have a whole room that's kind of where the Lego goes.
A whole room.
Yeah.
Wow. I went to buy some of those flowers and went, how much? And then did not buy those flowers.
Yeah. See, I don't really spend money on anything else.
Okay.
I don't spend it on clothes or shoes or anything.
Right. And do you get your hair done or do you do it?
I do.
Oh, you do get your hair done.
So I spend my money on my hair
and Lego.
Yeah, those are my two things.
And they just, and that's it. Like fandom is an interesting thing to me as someone who has a lot of Jane Austen fans that I interact with, etc. And just the delirious joy that it gives people. Why would you give a shit if somebody wants to take that however they want?
I find it a really almost like a mindfulness activity.
Mm-hmm.
So for my 50th birthday, nobody bought me Lego.
You sound sad.
I am a little. Anyway, it's fine because that's the point about being a grown-up is you can buy your own Lego.
Well, yes.
So I went and bought a very, very large, and it would surprise people, I think. I bought a Lego Ninjago kit, and that's because the Lego Ninjago, so this is their little ninja city kind of ones.
Okay.
The buildings are just the most kind of intricate, gorgeous things. So I just bought this huge, thing, and it's got 50 bags. It's just like hours of fun.
The only time I've heard of a 50 bag is to do with marijuana. So that's a different situation.
I'm trying to do like 1 or 2 a day, so I'm trying to really draw it out.
That's
and also so much fun.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad that makes it so much fun. So now we're winding up because we've been chatting for quite some time. Is there a fun fact about yourself that you'd like to share with the room?
It's kind of more a fun fact for people who are not from New Zealand. I think I do like to tell non-New Zealanders. When I was on sabbatical last year giving talks in various places and to tell people that I was a star baker on the Christmas special New Zealand Bake Off. I thought that was quite...
I didn't know about that because I don't ever watch that. No. What did you bake?
To be honest, I was a COVID stand-in. I think a few of us were. There was I got an email saying, can you do this this weekend? I was like, oh, okay.
You also do definitely qualify for a Celebrity Bake Off spot, 100%.
It was funny because I get asked to do a few things. I've been asked to do possibly one of the endurance-y things. I don't know, being outdoors. I'm like, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, Treasure Island.
I was asked to do... and traitors maybe as well, and no, I'm not going to do that one. But yeah, so this one came in, and I rushed to my husband. Oh my god, it's Bake Off, and he was like, "Well, you've got to say yes." I'm like, "Thank you, yes, I've got to say yes. You're absolutely right. I've got to say yes." And it was a bit disappointing though because it was the Christmas one, and they wanted something that was 50% made of meringue. Oh. And I'm not a fan of meringue.
Right.
Oh, that's like heresy to say that in New Zealand, isn't it?
Pavlova. I don't like cream.
Okay.
I don't like cream, so pavlova is a very big half bad time as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So I was just like baking. Oh, meringue. Anyway,
mess.
Yeah. So I took it very seriously. I only had 2 days to learn how to make meringue before we turned up and had to make meringue.
Meringue is science.
Well, yes, and I had an amazing idea, what I wanted to do, so actually Stephen and Eve had made me an amazing meringue, and it was this beautiful chocolatey swirly one with a little bit of orange. It was absolutely gorgeous, and I was like, well, that recipe is amazing. And it was like, you know how it's sort of kind of swirly, so parts of it are dark, parts are light. I thought that would look amazing as like bark and branches. So could I make all of these bits that you then sort of assembled together as a tree and made a pahutakawa? So that was my idea.
Right.
And I spent 2 days trying to practice that, and it was an absolute disaster. And I think it might have been Eve who said, why don't you just like make a box and call it a present and just fill it with stuff? And I'm like, genius, child. So I ended up just making straight meringue, assembling it as a box, and then I made this beautiful meringue as part of it, but also some beautiful little vegan chocolate cupcakes with like, so I did a whole bunch of stuff with all sorts of really nice toppings, because for me, it wasn't just about how it looked, it had to be, it was how it tasted as well. It had to be full of really tasty things.
Yes. And did you say you won?
I did win. And I don't know whether that was like a pity win, because Peter Gordon was lovely and he just was like, oh my God, you were amazing during the pandemic. So I wondered whether like...
Oh my God, stop that. Stop
it. Or was it because I actually made something that was pretty tasty?
I would say it was probably that. Stop it.
But I'm really glad that I didn't do the tree, because somebody else did a tree.
Did they do it well, or did it fall apart?
Well, I mean...
No.
No, I shouldn't be mean. They're a
So
TV
no.
personality.
Right.
Anyway, so
right.
that's my fun fact.
But-
I'm a star baker.
I love that. You go overseas. It's like my friend who was voted once New Zealand's sexiest man and lives overseas. So that's a real fun thing to just drop into the conversation. I can imagine that would be as well. One thing that struck me there that you said was, I don't want to be mean. And I find it so fascinating that, you know, you're someone who's just so wired to not make people feel bad about themselves, and yet have been put in this position to be other people trying to make you feel bad about yourself. And I'm glad that hasn't rubbed off on you in that small moment there. I also hope that you realize that you have a very smart brain, and that you've done, I know not being a professor is a big deal, obviously, but you have made more of an impact on so many people's lives than so many professors I've never fucking heard of. You know what I mean? And it's not about fame, but you have made an impact in people's educational aspirations, in their knowledge, in their staying alive. So I want you to please take all of that on board and realise that there are, and you must know there's millions of people in New Zealand that valued you.
Yeah, and you know, and people stop me all the time, and it's really lovely.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting thing that happens, because they see me, they sort of get excited, they want to say hello, and then you can see them like regressing into that time, and then they almost get like a little bit teary, and it's like a bit like, and they generally have to touch me, and so there's usually like a clasp of the hand or something. Some people want to hug, and it's really amazing, because it was a really difficult time. And you know, full of uncertainty, and so it was a real privilege to be able to help people through that,
and you really
people
did
to appreciate it.
The 2020 hindsight of people, like there was somebody on the news once, and they were like, you know, I think yes, our COVID response was good because we saved lives, but I don't think it was worth it for their hit to the economy. And
it's
I'm
nuts,
like,
because actually it was the best economic response as well.
exactly. And then I'm like, so who would you like to be dead?
Yeah.
You know, was your parents maybe? You? You know, it wasn't worth it for the hit to the economy, and that one blew my mind. And we forgot, and then you were there being calm, and you got emotional when they announced the lockdown and stuff like that, and talked about that. And I thought that was really great, because we were terrified. Especially, we thought our parents were going to die, potentially. You know, it was like, oh, maybe I'll be all right, but, you know, I'm asthmatic. Who knows what's going to happen?
I mean, this is the thing, that, you know, the impact on people with sort of underlying comorbidities. I mean, it's almost everybody. I remember the Plan B people saying, oh, we should just put them aside. It's like, how? It's like most people.
Yeah.
You know, it's asthma, it's all these things. It's not, and regardless, just because you have some underlying health condition doesn't mean you're useless.
Exactly.
You're a functioning part of society, whatever your role is. And it just made me really mad. It's what has made me mad that we haven't learned all the lessons the pandemic taught us, and instead we've just kind of abandoned stuff. Anyway, that's for a whole nother day. But it's been a real privilege to be able to use my skills. And you know, I honestly thought, as a scientist, I had hoped that one day the research I did would have an impact, and you know, around maybe helping find a new antibiotic. And to realize that actually it was my ability to kind of distill science and talk about it that's had the biggest impact, way bigger than anything my research will ever do.
Especially in the face of
amazing.
Science has been attacked so much, which has blown my mind. But just how science has suddenly become a dirty word, and people say like so-called experts when you spent years and years and years studying it. But anyway, we can talk about this forever. I'm going to leave that with you, that you don't need to be a professor, even if you want to, because you have achieved enormous amounts in your only 50 years, particularly your skin is very glowing and you don't have any wrinkles there that I can see at all. So you're doing very well as far as that's concerned, and keep being shiny and keep doing what you do.
Thank you very much for having me.
No worries.